Hey everybody, Kylan here. I just wanted to pop in before the episode begins to talk about that sweet, sweet sound you hear underneath my voice. What is that? Guys, that is in fact a brand spanking new 5 Iron Frenzy song called When They Find You, featuring Mike Herrera from MXPX. This is freaking awesome. This song is available on all streaming platforms as of today to celebrate 5 Iron Frenzy Day. And if you stick around at the end of the episode, we're going to play this song in its entirety. So let's get right to it. Welcome, everybody, to a new episode of Church Jams Now, the podcast where typically 3 former youth group kids and current music nerds do a deep dive on Christian music of the 90s and 2000s. Today, we are doing something a little bit different. We are deep diving not necessarily on an album, just with a person. Guys, we have Leanor Ortega-Till here coming to talk with us. Hey, how you doing?
I'm good. Hi from Denver.
Hi from Denver.
Otherwise known as Jeff the Girl. Do you still claim that moniker? Is that a...
You know what? If I do an autograph, I sign Jeff the Girl because otherwise it's my signature, which is very different, right?
Right.
So yeah, if they hand me something to sign and I'm, never too cool to sign something, then it's Jeff the Girl for sure.
That's amazing. I almost wonder if we should call this like Jeff Jams Now. This episode specifically. Yeah, but
the thing is, kind of after I got into my 30s, I let go of the Jeff name, and now I'm like closing in on 50s. Let's leave Jeff behind.
Fair enough.
Maybe
I respect that.
That is valid.
Okay,
that's a great autograph, though. I get that.
Yeah,
that has its purpose.
Right.
In that context.
And people know what it means. Like if you say Jeff the Girl, pretty soon, guess what? In 2 weeks, guys, I'm going to Furnace Fest.
Nice.
Can you believe? So I was looking at the lineup. First time I heard about this last year, I heard about it and I wanted to go. And I was like, dude, it sounds like a beefy dude fest. And it's not just a beefy dude fest. But a lot of the bands are, and a lot of the bands I like Avail, Stretch Armstrong, Pedro the Lion, Sunny Day Real Estate's playing.
Yes, I know.
Awesome.
It's going to be crazy. And Squad 5-0 is playing right before us.
Squad's playing?
Yes. So here's a crazy thing, right? If you say you're Jeff the Girl playing, I think it kind of conjures up a different visual than most of the bands and the dudes at the Furnace Fest.
True, yeah.
Very interesting.
It is. I love it.
That's going to be so fun, though.
I'm more excited to go than I am to play. I mean, I'm excited to play.
Yeah.
But as a fan, I'm like, I'm getting there when it starts. I cannot sell any merch.
Sunny Day Real Estate and Pedro's doing all of Control, right?
And that's one of my favorites.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's gonna rule.
It's gonna be like, goosebump worthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
For sure. So the way that we kind of wanted to structure this, I guess, was honestly not really structured. All 3 of us kind of wrote some questions and we figured we're all kind of music nerds, so we'll just kind of talk about music and nerdy stuff.
That sounds good. Cool. I'd rather talk about music than anything. And it's funny because a lot of the times when you do interviews, they want to talk about how did the band get together? How'd you get your nickname? What do you like on pizza? And it's like, can we talk about music?
Yeah.
Right. So I think this is gonna be good. This will be fun.
That's sweet. Okay, so then let's just lead right off. What do you remember? What is the first album that you bought with your own money?
Unfortunately, it was tapes used to have singles, cassette tapes, and it was Dancing on the Ceiling by Lionel Richie.
Oh man,
that's
a solid one.
That rules.
That's not an embarrassing one, but it just and then those little singles had like 2 songs on one side and 1 song on the other side.
Right.
And it was like a paper sleeve. So I bought Dancing on the Ceiling. And then the other one I bought with my own money, and this is super embarrassing, was Happy to Be Stuck with You by Huey Lewis.
Yes.
And I don't even remember what was on the other side. I thought that song was so cute.
I love Huey Lewis, so that's cool.
Josh is a big Huey Lewis.
All of 5 Iron is huge. Micah. So Micah is a huge Huey Lewis fan.
Really?
And Heart and Soul, you know that song?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the verses he'll be driving the school bus. I have a distinct memory driving the school bus. We used to live in one, and it had a radio in the front. And so anyone who's in the back of the school bus just can kind of do their thing, but the people in the front would hear it really loud. So Heart and Soul, the verses he'd have quiet. And then when the chorus would come on, he'd put it full blast.
Oh, great.
And then the verse would come on and he'd turn it down, and everyone's like, does he know we're listening? Like, why is he's such a rhythm guitarist.
That's so good.
Mm-hmm.
He was leaning into it. That's
awesome. Man, Lionel Richie and Huey Lewis in the News. That's not bad, man. That's not bad.
Those are big
I don't
names,
like that question because, to be honest, when growing up, we had a music room in my house. My mom was going back to college when I was in elementary school. My dad, if you need a visual of my dad, he pretty much talks and looks like Cheech.
Okay.
Mustache. He's from North Greeley. He's got the accent. So we had a whole room that had pianos, trumpets, saxophones, percussive instruments, and he had a record player, and we would jam like Motown. That was my life. And so even though I didn't own like my own money, but I grew up with like Motown and old Mexican and Spanish music since I was young.
That actually was my next question, was like, what kind of household did you grow up in with like music stuff around? And
well, I want to say one thing that is funny, because you were saying that this is a Christian musician podcast kind of vibe, right?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know there was Christian music. I didn't know there was Christian music till I joined Five Iron. I mean, I knew there was Amy Grant, and I knew there was The Champion. That song we would do at Easter when we go to church once a year.
Is that the Carmen one?
Carmen, yeah.
Yeah.
But this is going to sound really awkward, but growing up, the most religious music was always Al Green, Sam Cooke, Prince.
Oh, completely.
Right. So it was always, but here's the problem, right? Which is cool. Those are also the most sexual musicians.
Right.
So, and Marvin Gaye.
A little of both.
So like Marvin Gaye, right? You're listening to, what's going on. Don't go and talk about my father. God is my friend. Jesus is my friend. And that was our worship music, was like old Motown, right?
Right.
Maybe some Elvis. My dad would put on Elvis and talk about Vietnam and cry, even though he didn't go to Vietnam, It's the genuine draft and knowing people.
Did you ever listen to Larry Norman? We just covered Larry Norman's Only Visiting This Planet from 1972. Holy shit, that album is so good.
Well, here's the problem. So I didn't grow up in this culture either. So when I was on a church staff, we watched, well, it was Scum of the Earth Church, so it's a little different. But we watched the Larry Norman documentary. And was heavy. That was beautiful. Like people like Larry Norman, Keith Green, Stephen Curtis Chapman, all those guys are guys that Five Iron grew up with. Like a lot of those guys grew up with like more youth groupie stuff and more, Dennis grew up with yacht rock.
Yes.
He definitely, But most of the other guys, they grew up with Christian metal and then the old greats, kind of like what you said, like altar boys. So I didn't know that stuff when I joined Five Iron. It was like they felt they had to personally educate me to death. Right. So I got like mixed tapes for my Walkman. Altar Boys, the best of. Tourniquet, the best of. Vengeance Rising, the best of.
That's so great, though. That's so great.
That's good. It's important, but I also was kind of like, all right.
What was it like when because you didn't grow up with Christian music, and what was like that whenever they started introducing you? What was your reaction? Like, what did you think of all of it?
The first time I went to Cornerstone, I was in awe. Like I physically was shaken that there was Christian rap. I was 18 and it was at night and Living Sacrifice was playing. There was a rap tent. There was a dance tent. Five Iron had played, Supertones had played, and there was Gothics running everywhere. And I was like, holy crap, this is like what heaven's going to be like. Like I was a little punk rock chick with a mohawk and like grew up, not grew up, but eventually I had gotten really into like NoFX and Bad Religion and like punk music. And to hear all this other music that was for the Lord, and being a spiritual person, I was like, this is beautiful. I loved it. And then the more that the guys showed me of bands and like the musical talent, and then the problem is the disfortunate issue, and you guys know this, is that Christian music gets lumped as Christian music.
Exactly. Well, that's the whole premise
when you
of
go
this
to a festival,
podcast.
right?
Yeah,
you're going to find rap, you're going to find dance, you're going to find electronic, you're going to find ska, and it's like we don't even consider the genres because it's quote unquote Christian music. But the problem is the musicians notice it.
Yeah, it's a very unfair categorization. It just makes no sense.
Yeah, that's kind of been our whole thing because like with us, like being raised in that is like, well, this is the music you have to listen to.
So
Yeah.
But
therefore
it
it's
could be any
good.
style, so that's kind of cool because
That is true.
Have
That
a
is
handle
true.
on metal.
Yeah.
And then everyone else is just writes
point.
it off as Christian music. So we're kind of going back and going through and being like, hey, like on each of these albums, like a lot of people worked on them. And we want to like give them the sort of like the space to like be evaluated critically, whether that's good or bad, you know, like kind of just put it on the same level as everything else. I just think that's so rad.
I would love to know, and take this question however you like, but maybe a best, worst, or just funniest studio experience that comes to mind. Anything that's kind of quirky or fun or really intense, just answer how you like.
Yeah, the first studio experience was really bad because I was out of high school. The only reason I was in the band is because I was a girl that liked to pray before shows. So they asked me to be in the band, and I was Micah's cousin, and I wasn't a good saxophone player. I just was a saxophone player. So we get down 1995, we get to Albuquerque. Thank the Lord that this demo never saw the light of day. The person who made it actually went bankrupt and lost all the tapes, which is good because we sucked. But we were trying to record, and I'd never been in the studio ever, and I wasn't even very good. And back then we didn't have a metronome. So we're like, if you've ever heard early recordings, especially live of Old West, it's supposed to go like da 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 da. But when you're like 18, the song comes out
Right, you just
hysterical, right?
So fast.
And back in the day, Scott was not known, and he doesn't care if I say it now, I hope, but I don't care. He was not the most chill back then, and he was the main songwriter, you know, so he had this vein that would pop out on his head.
Yeah.
And then Brad and I are trying to record, and Scott's like clapping slowly, going, if you can't get this right, I'm going to hire some musicians that go to college here. Oh. And Brad and I went to the McDonald's and had a good cry.
Oh.
And we got our horns and we went to a parking garage, and underneath it's nice and echoey.
Yeah.
And practiced for hours.
Wow.
Hours. Like we were petrified. We're like,
yeah.
You know, I've only been in the band a few months, and
right.
At 18 years old, and
oh yeah, of course, it would be so intimidating to have somebody come at you like that.
So sad. Right. Scott has learned, and it's funny. It's like the joke now. Like the joke now is he'll laugh and he'll go, "I'm not like that now," and and we can kind of talk about it. But
that's great.
That was probably the first experience that, and unfortunately, what that did is it honestly made me just like recording. So every year we'd go into the studio and start producing like an album a year. I'd start to get really heightened. I'd start to get really nervous.
Right.
Yeah. So, and it gets even worse so when we did Engines of a Million Plots, we had been broken up from 2003 to 2011. Mm-hmm. By the time I'd gotten married, I'd had 2 kids. Right. Like most of us had some kids at this point. And yet the old roles, just like with siblings, they start coming back.
It's kind of all, yeah.
But this time it was Dennis, because he had been working, and he does work in a music house in New York City in Brooklyn. Super cool recording studio, right?
Wow.
And I'm recording in the booth, and he walks by, and I just hear, you know, it gets quiet, and there's Dennis talking to the producer. And then he comes back on, he goes, "Actually, can you try that again, but like an octave lower?" Dude, I have been practicing these songs for months.
Right.
Dennis is an amazing musician, comes and changes it on the spot. Anxiety. So they learn like to crawl on the floor when they want to say anything, so I don't see them in there, so I have anxiety.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's rough.
Man, studio time can be really, it can be like a heightened situation. Mm-hmm. If you feel on the spot, especially when you're the one in the room, like, you know, right. The red light's on and you're tracking
all eyes on you, and they can hear it crystal clear.
Yeah. They're sitting in their comfy couches, sipping on their Perrier, just critiquing your
Where
take.
are you recording, TJ? This sounds fancy.
I know. I was going to say Masaki's watching Law and Order and eating rice.
Electric Lady. I was just there yesterday.
Naturally.
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I'm kidding. Cool. I do want to share a really good story, though, a redemptive.
Please.
Oh, yeah.
Of recording.
We're here for it.
So out of all of our albums, there's only one that we recorded here in Denver. And that was the only one that we attempted to record horns at the same time. So usually horns are all individual, right?
Dubbed, yeah.
And Dennis, because he has really good chops, and I don't know, there's not really a leader thing, but he usually records first, and then we kind of follow him. Like where he swells, we swell. Where he ends, we end. And that's beautiful and easy to do, right?
Yeah, makes sense.
I wouldn't say it's hard. But then when you're all 3 trying to record, And trumpet is getting exhausted because chops don't last as long. And Dennis can pull it off 1,000 times in a row. And I'm just forgetting the notes. Like, it's hard. It's hard because you're doing the whole take at the same time.
Yes.
But on the song, My Evil Plan to Save the World.
Oh, I love that song.
So there's the horn line that goes da 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 da. The second time we did it through, I swear, guys, that was like a sacred moment. Like we played it so smooth and so perfect. Like we just stopped and we recorded and we were like, whoa.
You're like
and that
in
comes
awe.
from like, 10 years playing together, right?
Yeah.
But if you listen to that album, which is, people love that album, Quantity, the horns are all together at the same time. We were in the same room doing it.
So rad.
And it was meaningful. It was really cool.
Incredible.
So you can feel that vibe.
Yeah.
Was that just like that experience? You're like, that was fun. Let's go back to solo tracking now. Or
I don't really get a say, but I will be honest that recording in Denver is way too hard because when you have your loved ones around, back then anyway, when the band was our full-time gig, it's very distracting. And then you get a million people hanging out. So for us, it was always good to have a destination.
Go somewhere.
Yeah, because you get more done probably. Like you're more productive.
Well, I mean, check out like Red Hot Chili Peppers. All these famous bands rent a house in the Hollywood Hills.
Right.
And if we could do that for even just writing, then it wouldn't take us 7 years to put an album out.
I get
that makes sense.
Because I do everything all at home, and guys, when was my album supposed to come out? Like 5 years ago.
And you said you have a 2-year-old?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, okay, when she naps, I get 45 minutes if I can go in the closet and like maybe knock something out. So
Yep.
Yeah.
But this last album, Until This Shakes Apart, we recorded it at Scott's house, which is here in Denver. He made his basement into a recording studio. And the cool thing about that was he would have more ideas, and especially for the horns and vocals. And he'd say, can you guys come over? And we're like, yeah. So we were popping out gang vocals, more horn parts, like right up until it was like needed to go. So it was so cool because last minute, everything could be added whenever.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
And it sounds incredible. So just as a testament to like, you can do it at, if your home studio is nice, right? And if you're working with pros, like you can make incredible music that way.
I was going to ask if that because for the engine demos, I've like listened to the ones that Scott did where it has like all like the horn parts already like midied in and everything. But for Until This Shakes Apart, was it more of like an organic thing where y'all were writing with Scott to come up with those lines?
The problem is Scott doesn't let us. He brings us a song. I don't like that.
Here it is.
I think he songs now for more music, which is cool. But I'm like, dude, you can do it. We know.
You've proven yourself.
Stop. Like my favorite, and I hardly get to do it, is when I get to add the horn parts. I've done vocals and melodies for a handful of Five Iron songs, but like one of the main horn lines that I got to write, and I don't get to write very much, was Dog Food, if you ever heard that on Cheeses.
Oh,
Did you hear that song? It was kind of like more punk horns, but very rarely do I get to write because it's like a totem pole of musicians. There's so many.
Right.
So honestly, to be honest, I wish that he wouldn't always write the horn parts. But the problem is we call it demoitis, and I'm sure you know what that is. Like once he's put him in, he struggles to change it.
He's stuck on it.
Yeah, you get stuck in that.
So I wish he would.
That's real.
He would send us, blank slates and let us try.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, hey, here at Church Jams now, I don't want to speak for the other guys, but I will be the first to sign the petition to let Leanor write the sax parts on the next album. Like,
yeah, right. I'd have to make my own. This is what he would say.
I'll be the fanboy.
Very kindly. He would say it very kindly. He will say, I'm sure you can find people that want to do that with you.
No.
Oh, yeah. Like many times I'll say, like, I want to do more punk songs than Fiverr. And he's like, I'm sure you can find people that would love to write punk songs with you. And he's not wrong.
Wow.
He's not wrong.
Right. Yeah. That's so funny.
It's rough out there, dude.
Yeah.
Did that change after Scott left? Was it our newest album ever was his last album after?
Right.
So when the songwriting kind of dynamic shifted, how were y'all coming up with horn parts?
That was fun. Mostly Dennis, but then again, we all lived together. We were doing so much of life together that again, it would be organic. Like we would kind of sing parts over it. And we have a saying called whatever's best for the song.
Yep.
Yeah. That's good.
And sorry, my dog is barking. But the concept of whatever's best for the song means you cannot get your feelings hurt.
Right.
It's not personal. And the first time I learned this was during, I think it's Anthem. There's a trombone solo in it. And it was going to be my solo. And I showed up to the studio and there's Dennis recording. And you whatever's
no.
best for the song, dude. Like you do learn. Like, because oftentimes I will submit lyrics and melodies for songs, and then the same songs Grease does, and I'll just be like, dude, this is better.
It's
Like,
like
and it's
better,
cool.
right?
It is so fine.
And that's my question, because I love that, that concept of like serving the song, whatever is best for the song. But it's like what you still run into. I mean, correct me if you think I'm wrong, or if you disagree. But it's like, who gets to decide what that is?
I'll tell you.
Are y'all diplomatic about it? Do you vote,
Well,
or like, how does that
here's
work?
how it works. I'll tell you the system, and it's our way of doing it. And it's worked great. We are a democracy. We don't have a band leader. We don't have a manager. We've fired managers because we have too many band members that can do too many things.
Right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And it ends up hurting their feelings, but it's like, we don't need you. No offense. One person will write the song. It could be Micah. It could be Dennis. It could be Sonny. It could be anybody in the band, right? And some of them have been, like Andy or Reese or whoever. A lot of them are Scott or Dennis. And then that person will usually give us like a demo. And some guys will give you just the guitar. And some guys will work on it a lot and then give you a whole bunch. And basically, we keep adding to it. We'll add to it, add to it, add to it. But the main songwriter of that song that submitted it has veto power.
So like we have like majority shares in that song, even though everyone votes. That's smart. I like that.
Yeah, that makes
really
sense.
Cool. And what takes our album so long, like between Engines of a Million Plots and Until This Shakes Apart, took, I want to say, like almost 7 years. And one of the main reasons was Scott is a wonderful songwriter, but he would send us like one song with 8 versions of different bridges to vote on.
And you get kind of muddled up in the details, right?
It's too much. It's too much. It's beautiful and it's wonderful that he cares. And now he tries so hard on the other side.
Yeah.
See, to be a democracy and to be a team player, where it's kind of like holds up the process. And like what I meant, and I really mean this from the bottom of my heart, if we could like rent a house for a week or 2 weeks, some of those key things would just easily work themselves out. But because you can't see each other's face and because you can't vibe off each other, you can't be like, sometimes you say things a certain way or you wait because of hurting someone's feelings. And then again, I'm the kind of person who doesn't believe I don't believe there's a right and a wrong in music. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's nebulous, it's right?
For sure.
It's subjective. And some people really believe like, no, that's not the right part. I don't know.
But again, it's like, according to who? Or like, according to what metric, like.
According to Generation X, bro, we believe in right and wrong. We are not as postmodern as we seem. I mean, and it makes it really challenging when you're almost speaking a different language. But at the end of the day, we love each other and we're family. But there can be knock 'em out dragons, dude.
That happens with family, though. That's what happens with family.
That's family.
And when you all like so deeply care about like making the best finished product, I mean, those processes are all different for everybody. That's just like,
and it's emotional,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the most emotional things for me that I had to get over was we ended Engines of a Million Plots with a question. We had always ended albums with a worship kind of song. And Scott has, he's an agnostic now, and he's had a lot of different changes in his point of views and his faith story, which is awesome. And he's public with it. And we support him, definitely, But the last song he wrote was to his wife. And it's basically saying, can you stand the weather if winter lasts forever? Not only is it about marriage, but his faith. And we end the album with that. Dude, I felt like I was going to throw up when they told me that. I had to pull over. I called. I was almost crying. I was freaking out. I'm like, we're 5 iron. No, we can't. Like, we have so.
Because it felt like a change of like mission statement, almost like from a core place.
Don't you think? What do you think?
No, I mean, that makes sense. I really appreciated it, to be honest, because I was in a similar place. And so that for me was actually really connective, and it helped bridge the gap for me with y'all's discography and the gap of y'all as a band coming back, and then like kind of boldly deciding we're gonna leave a question at the end of the album. I was like, it was a little dark. I'll admit.
It's dark, but it's also it's poignant, isn't it? It's not. It's obvious. I think it's obvious.
It felt real. I was like, I get this. Like, that feels like my experience right now, and so that was actually really comforting on a certain level. And I was like, thank you, 5 Iron. Cheers.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's just one guy.
No, I could talk about that record all day because I love that record, and I love how it ended with that question too. If so we talked about like song veto power. How does like track list and which songs even make the record? How does that get decided?
Right. So that's another very, very, very feisty conversation. A lot of the songs, the hardest one to please, the hardest situation is to decide what songs come on. And I'll be honest, the last two albums, I feel like Reese hasn't gotten his way. And it's hard to see because
Really? Wow.
the songs are powerful. But we all vote on the order together. Again, the sequence, we call it sequence, and we'll send them all out. And then we listen to them, send them all out, listen to them, send them all out. And I got a little win on that this last album.
Nice.
And again, the guys, a lot of them happen to be music people, not lyric people. Right. And that's cool. That's fine. That's awesome. And that's how my husband is. And a lot of people will say, I loved 5 Iron. I didn't know that song was about that. What are you talking about?
Right.
But that's very important to me and to Reese. Reese writes the lyrics and I adore the lyrics. Like I'm, very poetic and I think about the lyrics and they matter to me. And when I care about a band, like that's life-giving, right? Or life-breaking. Right. Yeah. So one of the songs that wasn't going to make it on the new album was Wildcat. And it has a line and it's not an original line. I think Leonard Cohen says something similar, but it's the concept of the cracks are where the light comes in.
Yeah.
Yes. Right. Yeah.
Something about where a person is broken, where they are redeemed. Right. And I said, and I made a big argument, and I just was like, nope. This album is dark and it's angry, and we know that, and that's okay. That is so okay. Trust me, as a Hispanic woman, I get it. We got to be pissed off. But we've always been a band that, and again, I love it, and we don't have to be the way we've always been, but we've always pointed finger, but we've usually through the bridge had a redemptive story about, and here's how I'm part of the problem.
Right.
And that's one thing that I would say has been a generational shift from a lot of music we hear, whether it's secular or Christian, is saying there are issues and here's how I contribute. That level of humility that Reese has in his lyrics and vulnerability. And so I said, this song needs to be in there or the album is just a big FU.
Yeah.
And Dennis agreed. Yeah. Dennis agreed. He's like, that one line makes or breaks the album for me.
Wow.
And we got it in.
That's powerful. Yeah. That's amazing. I like that song even more.
I'm
now.
glad. Yeah. It's a great song.
I love that song. Like it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking.
Man. Yeah. What you're talking about, like how you focus on lyrics and stuff, that's definitely like TJ's whole thing. And like, we've kind of adopted these sort of personas or roles on the podcast, but I'm definitely like the way that I listen to music and consume art is just more like vibe and music and kind of how it feels. And TJ like really focuses on lyrics and stuff. And that's what I wasn't able to like articulate or pinpoint that moment in particular on the new album, but that makes so much sense. Like, because it is a really angry album overall, but I think that that song is what, like track 10
12 or 11.
No, it's the second to last one, I think.
Yeah.
And then it goes into Huérfano, which is orphan. And those were Reese just sent a text and says, tell me a story of when you've been bullied. We all submitted stories. And he took from our stories and made that song. And I couldn't even tell you whose stories are whose. I know a couple of them, but those are all.
Because he just kind of blended them really beautifully together. That's really cool.
Was it your story with when you had the mohawk that you got yelled about?
Punk rock hair.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the dude that I went to homecoming with when we got older, like he looked like Michael J. Fox, and had the sunglasses and the cool. He thought he was cool. And I got older, and he's like, you used to be really pretty until you had punk rock hair.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
well,
thanks, bud.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, bud. I'll see you on Facebook in about 40 years and I'm going to look good.
That's right.
What's weird though is a lot of people thought Christianity and punk rock in my life in high school was a fad. And that's what's really funny because now I see my teenage kids and I'm like, oh, damn, this might not be a fad.
Yeah.
Things that they're into. Like it might be very self-defining.
That's so cool.
Is it though? It's scary.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's cool.
A little bit of both. I think.
Yeah. It could be cool and
Okay, I'm
scary.
gonna ask you guys all a
Yeah.
question. Ready? It's on the
Okay.
spot.
All right.
Oh, okay.
We're ready.
Pick one line, and it is gonna be either a lot since you're musical too, like a line or a riff out of 5 Iron that is one of your favorites. So it could be a lyric or a song.
That's so funny because I was gonna ask you the same question.
Oh, you can, but I go first.
All right. You get to go first.
So that's it.
All right. Who wants to answer first?
Oh man.
Josh or TJ? TJ seems ready to go.
I've got my answer. So it's not even, and I don't mean this in a disparaging way, but it's not even like my favorite song, but it's probably one of my favorite lines is "Do all streams lead to one sea?" And you wrote that, didn't you?
I wrote it about Scott and his faith story.
Yeah. I heard that episode of your podcast about nature inspiring lyrics.
Oh, that one was deep.
Leaning into mystery.
Yeah.
That was an incredible episode. That's an incredible song, and that line, it speaks to me a lot. So thank you. I'm glad you got to whatever you did to push through in the songwriting. And
all I had to do on that one was nothing because Reese was like, listen to the song. He's like, I got nothing. Every once in a while I get really lucky because he's like, you can have this one.
Yeah. Well, however it worked out, I'm just glad nothing else got in the way and that was able to like kind of channel through you because that was amazing. I love that line.
Thank you. Yeah. That is pretty cool.
And it is a beautiful like theme and reason to write a song. That was really touching for me. So thanks.
Wow. I've got mine if kind of need more time or
let's
something.
hear it.
Well,
All right.
Josh, you go.
No. Let's hear Josh.
Man, I was so scared. I was like, oh, what do I do? This isn't like if it would on Engine. I wouldn't pick this as like my overall favorite song, but there's in "We Own the Skies," in the second verse where Reese is saying, "This Trojan horse inside my chest is screaming for the life I left, my kingdom for a steady paycheck." And I relate to like the lyrics but I just love how that line comes across, and because that's what like it builds right into the chorus there. So something like, I love that you asked that question because that's always been something for me. Like I'm like, I don't know why I love that part so much, but I do. And so like now I get to talk about it. And so that is what I would say.
This is not my favorite one either, but in that one of those, I think it's that song, or maybe it's I Am Jack Smirking Revenge. But when it says, you are not the space that you rent. How does he come up with that? That's so good.
Yeah.
So good.
So good.
Really phenomenal.
Like, yeah, dude.
Both of those were very beautiful, articulate answers, and in typical CJ fashion.
Are you gonna sing a guitar part?
No, I just like that's the thing. Okay, so going back to like our personas, like TJ picked a very specific lyric, Josh picked like a very specific like musical moment, and I'm just like such a vibe guy. Like I can't pinpoint a specific thing, but Blue Comb 78 is something that I just like. The general vibe of that story is something that like pops into my head a lot. I think because it's like it's really narrative, and I feel like I focus on like kind of big picture narrative. Like I think I've actually used that as a reference point on a couple different episodes, right, guys?
Yeah.
Like
can confirm.
Like, yeah, like this song reminds me of like Blue Comb 78. Like they go really well together.
You know what it's about, right? Like the metaphor.
Do I?
I mean, you should probably tell us.
I mean, I have an idea. You know
what Blue Comb's about, right?
No, tell me.
Losing to come on.
No,
the
you
highway.
tell me. What do you think?
I mean,
maybe you've heard, maybe you don't.
I haven't. No, I haven't. I've done like, I just know for me in particular, like kind of how I interpret this story as like not like a loss of innocence, but just sort of like a defining like childhood moment, which I have a lot of those like in like relationship with my dad and stuff that it just kind of really connects to. But I don't know any specifics on what
it's the idea of the comb is his childhood. Like
okay, cool. Okay, so I'm not a complete idiot.
That was the last time he saw his parents together before they got divorced.
Okay,
wow.
so
have you seen my comb? You know.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it is a lot deeper.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess you kind of, by now people kind of get it, but in the beginning it was just blue comb. And then when it finally, after you start doing some interviews, it's like, oh.
Well, I say whenever everyone just like brings Blue Combs to the show, is he like, this is about like my parents getting divorced. Thanks, guys. Like,
that's heavy.
Well, because the song feels really like melancholy to me. Like I have that.
That's another line I have to say. Another line. I saw it recently. Someone posted it like in a clip, and they said, how can I save the world on cup of soup and student loans? From where the zero meets the, I love the whole lyrics of where the zero meets the 15, because that where the zero meets 15 was so much of our lives. Like we lived in a band house in Capitol Hill. We were broke, dude. We had one meal a day, most of us. Like we were so broke. We were going to college. We were doing this band. We were opening for like really big bands, like you know, Less Than Jake, Cherry Poppin' Daddies, like MU330, all the like quote unquote secular greats within our first year of existence. And yet we were these dorky Christians. And the funny thing that people don't get, and I've said this in some interviews, but we never, I don't feel, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, we never felt like a top down of like, you have to do this. It was always like, we want to do this, will they let us? And this is the make a church, be Christians, preach, give money to these things. Like everything spiritual we wanted to do was our ideas. We never had. It wasn't because of label. We looked for a Christian label.
Yeah, that was your punk rock ethos, right? Was like being self-starters.
Yeah. It was just a vision naturally. Like when I joined the band, they had a Bible study at their band house. And they let homeless people stay there, and the homeless people would always steal their stuff. They would have communion with Twinkies and grape soda, like, but it would be sacred. You know, like Reese and Keith had thick theological books on their shelves, and we had our own rules about not drinking on the road. Like we were I mean, we were legalistic. Let's get that right. We were legalistic, but at that age, we were trying to self-regulate.
Where a lot of people were probably just embracing every possible choice out there when they're on the road and touring. And
I had already done that in junior high.
You were ahead of the curve.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. It was time to just be good. Love the Lord.
Hey, but we gotta ask you that same question. We gotta ask you what's your favorite.
Okay, what is the question?
The question is, can you refer us to a specific line, whether it's a musical line or a lyrical line, that you just really love?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's so many. Obviously, anyone would say like freedom means love without condition, without a beginning and an end. Here's my heart, let it be forever yours. Only you can make every new day seem so new. Today, one of the things I do is I host a chapel at an elderly folks home twice a month. And so I like to think of life as basically like just a pretty little package. And every day that God gives us is that little package for that day, right? That day.
Right.
And I really do think like even just the idea of every new day, like every new day is a new chance,
I feel like that that idea was so much bigger than Reese, than y'all's band, than anything. I mean, when I first heard that song, like it did speak to me in a way that I couldn't really like parse out or understand. And even now, like you're saying, you're making a beautiful point with a lyric that's been around for, oh God, how many years now has that song been in existence?
Maybe 20, 25. No, about 25.
And it's just as like prescient.
That lyric can almost rent a car.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means. Oh, you mean how old it is?
It's old enough. Yeah.
Wait a minute, it's that good. I'm like, I don't think I can trade a car for a lyric. I've tried some crazy things. But when you said, okay, so Kylan, back to the vibe idea, right?
Right.
There's a place where I think the vibe of the music and the lyrics go perfectly succinctly. And there's two songs that I think do that. And one is American Kryptonite.
Yeah.
Just the intensity of that song, and then the horns of that song, and the buy, take, break, throw it away. Just so good. And then the second one, and this is probably my biggest answer for this part, would be where the notes of the song and the lyrics, and we've never played it live, and I don't think we could, and I know we wouldn't, put it that way, is the end of On Distant Shores. Where it's going like over and over, and Reese is singing about like going up this mountain and trying, and you just feel that tension, and like, when is it gonna break? And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And it's almost like it honestly was hard to play and record emotionally too. Because you want it to break, but you're still playing this piece. So you can't take a break organically because it would just sound wrong. So you have to keep that breath, and you have to go up that mountain. I mean, as a saxophone player, like you have to make this happen to make this part happen. It was cool. It was really cool. And it was a powerful, and actually like when you'd get done, it's like, oh, I did it.
Yeah.
Cross it off my list.
It's like cathartic. It's like a release.
There, that's the word.
Yeah.
When that song finally breaks into the Every New Day part,
Yeah.
we weren't sure if that was a good idea. But when it does that, it's like, it is cathartic. That's like the swimming to the floating, right?
Right. You can just relax.
Just stop.
Yeah. Just finally,
Just stop.
take a breath.
Wow, that was great.
Yeah. I love that.
My second answer was going to be, I really like when Reese apologizes to the parents for buying the CD on Kingdom of the Dinosaurs. It's like,
That's a great one.
Five Iron does both, you know? You do those.
I know.
Great.
You can get real deep and you can get real silly too.
Yep.
Okay, what's a song you don't like? That's okay. It doesn't bum me out. I think it's fine. I have plenty.
Man.
That's a hard one.
We've never had to tell.
I'm trying to
I've never
think.
had to tell someone like, I don't like your song.
It's okay.
Who am I?
That's why we make so many. Not everybody's.
Yeah, that's
I feel
true.
like that's a harder question to answer, actually.
Not
you know.
really. Have you listened to All the Hype?
Yeah.
That one's okay.
There's some weird ones on there.
Which ones on there are
Hurricanes.
Hurricanes? Okay.
It's got some weird Spanish in the beginning.
You don't feel that part?
I don't feel the
Doesn't-
song.
Doesn't work.
Mm.
Fair enough. I love that you're being candid about this. That's the
Yeah,
best.
I don't like that song.
That's so cool.
I also don't like the rap on that album.
That's valid.
Okay. Yep.
Probably a good call. Yep.
I was just trying to be cute and funny, but it's not. I mean, it's a skipper, you know.
Right.
Everyone goes, right.
Yeah.
I don't like, that's
Well,
right.
right. Like,
Well,
like,
you
You
you're
did not
trying
need convinced.
you were trying something at that point.
Yeah.
Like it was an experiment. And
It was.
right, we don't know until we try. We put it out there, see if it works.
Yeah, you had to adjust your whole dynamic after.
Faking
Scott
Life.
left,
Terrible
yeah.
song. Faking Life. It was unfortunate that I wrote those lyrics, but Faking Life is not a good song.
Why is that?
It's because I didn't know people were going to listen to it. Like we used to just play in the basement, and then suddenly it was like we need to make an album, and it was one we had been doing live, and it was fun. The notes and the horns were part, but I wish I could have rewrote it. Like if I knew people would really hear it, then I would have like taken it seriously. But I didn't know. Back then, you're just putting it in a notebook, and here's a song Reese sings when we play.
7 other
Right.
people hear it. Yeah.
We had
whenever you're
we had no
practicing.
idea people were going to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy. This is a great, like, I did want to ask it's funny that you approached it the opposite way, but I was curious, like, what are some of the maybe more underrated moments in Five Iron's discography that, like, you love personally, or, like, what's a song that you're like, this should be one of our most popular songs? Like, why don't
But it's
people,
not.
why haven't people caught
Yeah.
on to this or something?
I mean, I've always felt that way about Eulogy because I think that the horn line is so beautiful. I felt it was very melodic. One thing we never really tried, and I'd like to do it. Like, do you remember when Metallica released S&M and they had like the big orchestra behind them? Metallica did their songs with an orchestra behind them.
I bet that was incredible.
It's
still better
incredible.
than the album they did with Lou Reed.
2 CD album, which, you know, it's like 20 hours with Metallica songs. But I wish we would have done some of our songs with orchestras. I could see Eulogy be a really beautiful song. And World Without End. I think that chorus, it was a church.
Yeah.
We asked a church to do that. And they had the big bells you can kind of hear. I do think that song is powerful. I just don't think it's really hard to pull off live because it's so fast. And it's hard to get that beat. Like it doesn't, put it this way, we went from punk beat to more groove, I feel. And not just because we're in our 40s, but it's hard to perform really punk beats. Like Milestone will still do in some of those songs, but it's you got to kind of, people more like groove than just fast all the time.
Right.
Maybe
Well, it
if
creates
World Without
less
End had
listener
more of a
fatigue,
groove.
right? Like people get less fatigued over the course of an
Right.
album that's more groove based as opposed to just like
Constant,
you get more
yeah.
time to catch your breath in between skanking sessions.
Well, I think that's why.
that too.
Yeah, we talked about that on our episode of Until This Shakes Apart. I think why I connected to that more than I did because we did our newest album ever, and I coined the term ska fatigue. Like by the end of the album, it's just like
a ska festival.
yeah,
Just
I believe that.
First,
yeah. It's
you
like
want to like every band, but after like 30 bands of ska, you're done.
right.
Blasted, yeah.
Yeah, it's just like I think yeah, especially that new album is a lot groovier, and you know there's some ups and downs and hills.
I
and
think like
valleys.
songs like Renegades, like that's got a powerful groove.
Yes. Yeah,
and
that's a great
obviously
example.
we haven't talked very much about the lyrics of that album, but those are very, 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 I think it's going to be interesting. We're going to perform this Saturday. We have a show in Denver.
Nice.
And it'll be our first time. I'm not going to give away all the goods as far as all the new songs we're going to play, but we are going to play Renegades. And I was thinking about that song, and it's not a smiley, laughy song.
No.
It's going to be interesting because it's kind of like New Hope. Like when you perform it, it's somber. You're still rocking out, you're still having fun, you still have your friends in the crowd, and you're still performing the song, but it is no time for like inflatables or whatever.
Levity.
Like,
Right.
Serious
it's
song.
just a little different. It just feels a little different.
Going everyone holding up a blue comb. It's like, you're still not getting it.
Not now.
Not now. Yeah, it's not the vibe right now.
Yeah, but we'll see, because like I said, we've never performed these, so this will be interesting to see the crowd's reaction. And the way we know they like Renegades is because we had, for one of our Kickstarter things, is people could, it was like this, but it was a bunch of little squares, like a Zoom thing, where they could talk to us. And we played the whole album for them, and we watched their faces as they heard it for the first time.
Interesting.
It was so cool.
Yeah.
But it was almost too overwhelming because there's a lot of stimulus. Like, one, the band members are in front of you watching you. Two, we're like freaking out at them like this. Like, what do you think? What do you think? And then three, Mike is trying to find the lyrics and frantically get them out there so they could understand the lyrics while they're hearing it. And then at the end of all of it, we said, do you want to hear one more? And the consensus was Renegades a second time.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
We were surprised too. We're like, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But that makes sense. I mean, there's a lot to chew on in that song.
Yep.
And so I can see why they'd want like a repeat listen to really engage with
Plus,
it.
I think if you say the name to a song, it's like easy to think of that one rather than, do I want to risk saying we're phono wrong? Or sometimes Reese's name songs are like, I'd rather just say something else. Like,
Renegades, that one.
Renegade.
Oh, I thought of another song I don't like by Five Iron Frenzy.
Okay.
Most Likely to Succeed.
Really?
I'm so over that horn part. Over and over and over and over. We could have had a little more variety. It just gets at the end.
And if anybody gets to be tired of it, it's you.
Yeah, that's true. You've earned that.
You've earned that.
Yeah.
It could be better.
Forever.
It's not a bad song, but it could be better.
Have you ever thought about doing like a redux of some of the horn parts for
songs? I think Scott had the idea, and I don't know if it would ever happen, but like I think it was Andy's idea, but Andy is really into old school ska, like dub stuff, like more almost reggae. And so if we could take some of those faster ones and revamp them into a group. Yeah. So
that'd be so cool.
Guys play around and practice, and it's so easy for them to like just jam on some of our old songs. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yes.
That'd be so sweet.
It would be good. I think it would be good. I think it'd be awesome. Like just an EP of reworking. So I think it could happen for sure. It's something we always throw around. We just haven't like made time for it, but we're not going anywhere. I mean, the joke is that I'll be doing this when I'm menopausal. So
excellent. I mean, solid joke.
The joke. It's just reality. Like, did I think I'll be 46 in about a month, and I joined this band when I was 18.
That's amazing.
That's a long time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I was in high school and I used to drive up on the weekends.
I can't.
Like, you don't. I can't comprehend it.
I mean, I've been in so many bands.
And it's like, huh?
I was gonna say I've been in so many bands, and like none of them had even like a half-life of what Five Iron has had.
So and it's funny too, because we're like, everybody's getting excited about the show. Everybody's flying out. Oh, the wives are making the potluck. Okay, all the kids are coming. It's a family.
Best.
Yeah.
We're going to have a big old party after practice. We'll be exhausted and happy.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I'm going to have a margarita that is well earned.
Yeah.
I mean,
do it.
Is that something that you just like see Five Iron just continuing just forever at this point?
I don't want to do a whole nother big goodbye. Like one thing that was cool was recently Me Without You did their goodbye, and I got to see their last show here, and then my husband flew to Philadelphia to see the last show.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
And I think it is beautiful. I do. But we did that.
Right.
And it's not to say like, would you fade? But I've been in a few bands that have faded. Okay, you can fade. Okay, I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, we've talked about actually that concept, like a bunch of bands that have done the like farewell tour and then come back, but then like I don't know, you guys have always sort of been like a really good example of the, you know, take a break for a while, live life, and then like get back together and just play good music, you know, and that seems
but here's the thing, we did not think we were going to get back together.
Really?
Yeah,
I did
wanted
not.
to ask about
I
that.
did not. I never.
So what
thought.
changed then? What happened?
I had a tiny house and a barbecue, and Micah, it was his birthday, and we made him a cake. And Scott came, which was weird because I hadn't seen him in years, and his wife and my husband and me were there, and Dennis happened to be in town and with his wife and kids, and we just had a barbecue, right?
Right.
And then Dennis out of the blue said, like, not everybody was there. I don't think Brad was there. I don't think Reese was there. And Scott said, I've been writing songs, and I wonder what it would be like to have you guys on them. And Micah and I were like, do not joke about this. Like, no, it's not funny. My heart.
Yeah, don't get my hopes up, man.
But then he was like, no, really. Like, he was, he's serious. And we're like, oh my gosh. And then it became time to talk about it. And Reese was the one pretty much was like, we got to talk about this. I feel like we should do it. And it was like, okay, cool.
That's amazing.
That's so cool, though.
I love that it came out of just like a barbecue.
A family.
Yeah.
And then this goes back to the whole thing.
Like a surprise party.
Like a family. Yeah. Well, cool. We're right about an hour, so like we don't want to take up too much more of your time.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's anything else that
I would like to end with one more question. You guys have, and we'll end it on a bang.
Well, I have a game, but we don't have to do that because it's silly and goofy, and we don't have to do that. So if
I want to do it. I want to try it. I want to try it.
I mean, I'll say this: Callie's games
win or
are
lose
always
face?
a blast.
No,
they're so fun.
I like to do. Okay, so
The game is fun.
I ran a.
Oh yeah, so fun! It's a
Well,
blast.
you never know.
Every time.
They don't know. They haven't played the game. I do. So
What I'm saying is, every other game that you've done has always been fun. Like, I've never been disappointed.
I like to base them on puns. So I have a 5-question quiz.
I'm gonna suck at this, but go ahead.
For
We
the
all
three of
do.
y'all. It's
We
okay.
always-
It's okay.
we're
It doesn't
terrible.
matter. It doesn't matter.
Okay. Do we have to look intellectual? I can't do it.
No. I'm calling this game the Matthew McSconnaissance game. So you know how Matthew McConaughey had they called it the McConaissance, but I mixed it with
You're already
Scott.
pissing me off. Let's try again.
I know.
What are we doing? I want to
So
just play it.
essentially-
Don't tell me nothing about it. Let's go.
Okay. Well, so essentially, I have 5 questions, and I'm going to give you a title. I'm going to give everyone a title, and you have to guess whether it's a movie that Matthew McConaughey was in, or it's the title of a ska song from a ska band.
Okay, I'll try it.
All right,
Everyone
here we
gets to be on it though.
Yeah, the three of y'all.
We all have to weigh in.
Yep. Question 1: Making Sandwiches. Is that a Matthew McConaughey film, or is that a ska title?
Ska title.
Ska
Got a title.
You guys are all wrong. That's a Matthew McConaughey short film from 1998.
Oh
I think Reese
my
should
God.
remake that movie.
I know.
He needs
All right,
to
here we
write
go.
a song for the movie now.
Incredible.
Question 2: History of a boring town.
That sounds like a ska song.
TJ, you're going with ska
I'm
song?
gonna say
Yeah.
Matthew movie.
Okay.
Movie.
TJ is the only one that got it right. That's a Less Than Jake song.
Oh yeah.
Good job, dude.
All right, here we go.
Actually,
Question
Good
number
guess,
3.
Honestly.
2 for the money.
Well, that's a song, but it's not necessarily a ska song, is it? Oh, I was just thinking of the lyric from the Elvis song.
Right.
I'm gonna say movie
Movie.
Okay. We got 2 for movie.
because it sounds like an '80s movie title, doesn't it? Like
It
cheesy.
does. Yeah.
And it would be like
Yeah, I'm gonna go movie too. Yeah.
All right, all 3 of y'all saying movie. Y'all are all right. That is a 2005 Matthew McConaughey movie.
mhm.
All right, we
Who
got
else
2 more
was in
questions.
What,
I have no idea. I don't know.
Okay.
I just This is not the
Somebody-
podcast for that.
Okay.
Fair
I don't
enough.
think anyone saw it. Here we go. Question 4. All I Want Is More.
Song.
Ska song.
Yeah, it sounds like a ska song.
Okay. All 3 of y'all got that one right too. That's a Real Big Fish song.
There you go.
And here we go. Last question. 1, 2, 8.
Are there dashes in between?
know
Yes,
you
there
want me
are.
to say
There are
song.
dashes. There are dashes between the 1, 2, and the 8.
I'm gonna say movie.
Okay.
No,
A blended family.
That's valid. All
I
right.
know
so
you
Josh
want me to
says-
say song, but I'm saying
Josh
movie.
says song. Josh says movie. Leanor says
Yeah.
movie, and TJ says song.
I'm gonna go song. Yeah.
All right, TJ, you're the winner of our game. That is Mighty Mighty Boss Tones.
Oh, okay. Nice.
That was all pretty
Boss
close,
Tones
but
reference.
yeah.
That's not as hard as I thought. I thought it was gonna be on me, so I'm glad.
Oh no.
Oh yeah, no, we
I
all play.
I surprise them with some ridiculous nonsense
Yeah.
every time.
That was.
Thank you for playing the Matthew McSconnaissance game. So Leanor, thank you so much for coming coming on and doing our silly little podcast.
You are
Yes.
very welcome. It was very fun to come on here and talk about music. The best thing
Yes.
ever, right?
Yes.
We love music.
Yes.
Thanks for getting nerdy with us and talking about like just deep diving into
That was very
like
cool.
band like TJ said, we've all been in a million bands and we've all played together and stuff. And so I think the thing that I enjoyed most about this was hearing about like band dynamics and the sort of democratic process in which y'all make stuff. That's just like I'm fascinated by it. So I had a great time. Thank you so much.
You are very welcome.
Yeah, and my heart is warmed that y'all are gonna be one of those bands that like may fade or whatever you do, whatever your deal is, whatever your vibe is. Like,
Right.
I'm just so grateful to get to chat with you, and big fan of all that y'all do. So
I will
keep on
say that we
keeping on.
cannot break up until we do this whole like back in the day redub of Rewrite.
Yes, you have
Yes.
to. You have to.
Oh,
I'll be
man,
like,
please.
we do want to break up. We got to do this first.
That's
Yeah,
like
that's
the
it.
final send off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that'd be a beautiful way.
That's so good.
Okay.
All right.
All right,
Well, thank
take
you
care, guys. Be
so
well.
much. All right. Have a great night.
Adios.